Whenever I talk about buying watches, I generally talk about finding the right watch at the right price and getting something that is not only a great watch, but also something that is within a comfortable budget. And it feels sort of like you had a sort of a bit of a bargain purchase, or at least you feel that you haven't been ripped off. And whenever I have this discussion, or whenever I think about this, there is one website that always comes to my mind, and that is ashford.com. Hello, you're watching James. My name's James, you're watching me, and I am talking about watches, and I'm going to be talking about ashford.com again. And this is not a sponsored video. I'm not going to leave any affiliate links or anything like that. I'm purely wanting to talk about some of the watches that are on ashford.com that I like. And I want to do that because they're generally the cheapest place to buy watches. They are a grey market dealer that does not hold all watches. They don't have everything that you want, which is a bit unfortunate because if they do happen to have a watch that you like, they are generally the cheapest online. In fact, they are always the cheapest online. I always do my due diligence when I'm buying a watch, and I look at a lot of different places to try and buy a particular watch. And every time I do that, when that watch happens to also be on Ashford, I end up buying from Ashford because they're the cheapest. And everyone that I've bought from Ashford, and I've bought quite a few now from them, have all arrived safe, and I've been really happy with them. I do want to note though, depending on where you live in the world, sometimes the warranties or the shipping will vary. So make sure you read the fine print. I've noticed recently that the shipping can vary quite a bit depending on which country you're buying from, and the warranties may not be as valid depending on where you're buying from. So please keep that in mind if you're going to buy a watch from ashford.com. Today I want to share with you 7 watches that are on Ashford that I think are amazing watches and that are priced really, really well. And all the prices that are listed are in US dollars. So let's check out the first one. First one is this absolutely incredible looking Hamilton Jazzmaster, $369.99 US, and there's always coupons. Like at the moment there's this Spring 7 which brings the price down to $344.09. There are always coupons, and there's always like a $20 voucher, so if you're going to buy a watch from this website, make sure you apply all the coupons you can sort of possibly add. But this watch, I love the brand, of course. I love that there's a 6 o'clock date window. This sunburst black is absolutely stunning, and look at the indices at the 12, 3, 6 and 9. It's like a double effect of the indice, which I think is beautiful. It is a mechanical watch with a beautiful Hamilton movement. I love the movements. This one, when you buy from Ashford, you get it in this little travel pouch rather than the original box though, and the Hamiltons I've bought have come with that too, and that may be for cheaper shipping or something, I'm not sure, but be aware of. But the party trick that this particular watch has is just how thin it is. This is one of the thinnest, most beautiful watches I've come across because it's a Swiss-made watch, obviously, automatic, 40 meters case width, 50 meters of water resistance. But it's when you come down here, this is where it all gets rather interesting, because when you look at the thickness of the watch, it's 8.45 millimeters. That's a real thin watch. Sapphire crystal, ETA caliber 2892-2, all for $344. One thing to note, and it's probably the only reason I haven't bought this one for myself, is that it's a two-hander. There's no moving second hand, which doesn't completely stop me wanting to own this watch, but I do like a little bit of movement on the dial, and it's probably stopped me buying this one, only because I have a couple of other dress watches in my collection that I also love, and I don't need another dress watch. But if this one had a moving second hand, I think I'd just buy it anyway. Next, you've got to have a dive watch in your collection, and I keep saying it, this is the best dive watch you can buy for the money. Glycine Combat Sub Automatic, $323 US after the coupons that you apply. This one also beautifully thin. Amazing how thin this particular watch is for a dive watch. Has an enclosed case back. And if you don't like this particular color variations, there are actually quite a few glycines on this website. Some of the Airmens as well, some of the non-automatic watches, some of the quartz ones which are worth checking out. But I particularly like the Glycine Combat Sub, and it's a beautiful one to have. Automatic, 42 millimeters, 200 meters of water resistance. But when you come down again to these specifications, you see that is a GL224, which I believe is a Sleater-based movement, obviously made in Switzerland, 42 millimeters, but it's only 11 millimeters high. That's actually really thin for a dive watch, and I've experienced a couple of these now, and it's really noticeable on wrist. What an amazing watch, and probably the single best watch for the money that you can buy, in my opinion. Now, everybody is aware of the Orient Bambino. They're great watches. There's a variety of them. There's a variety of sizes of them. Great looking watches, great looking dress watches, a little bit of vintage sort of vibe to them, and they're affordable, and they're extra affordable on ashford.com. Now, there are a bunch of them on here, the Bambinos, but I particularly like this one. Sub-second registry, which I really enjoy, applied indices, this sort of creamy sort of dial, which I think looks absolutely incredible. Automatic, as you can see, on this leather strap for $168. Wow, that's a great price, $168. What a great watch. As you can see, again, discounters, but let's go down. This one is a 41mm, so it's one of the bigger versions, obviously automatic, 30 meters of water resistance, automatic movement, which is one of the most of the Miyota movements, most likely being a Orient watch, mineral crystal, all the things that you expect from an Orient Bambino. And if this is not the one you like, they do actually have quite a few different variations. The more I collect watches, the more I seem to understand that it's nice having a watch which has a little bit of a wow factor or a bit of a fun factor to it in the collection. Perhaps not make your entire collection these style of watches, but I always have at least one, generally nowadays two in my collection. And they don't need to be sort of weird or strange, but they just need to be, when you look down at your watch, you go, wow, that's very cool. And this, I think, is very cool. This is a Tissot T Classic, $274 US. And yes, it's sort of like a dress watch or a watch that you could almost wear every day, but it really has definitely a wow factor and an interest factor with those two dials being offset. Date winner as well. Obviously Tissot, they're very proud of their 1853, but it's just a good looking watch, and what a beautiful case profile as well. Nice size too, because it's 39mm, 100 meters of water resistance, so it's going to be an easy one to wear all the time. And it's got the ETA 2825. So for that sort of money, you're getting a Swiss-made watch, 22mm bandwidths there, deployment class, 38mm, 13mm height, sapphire crystal, and a lovely ETA movement. And yes, this may not be your watch that you wear absolutely every day, but it is so interesting and fun. I'm actually really thinking about buying one myself because I'd really enjoy it. It's just that I've got quite a few fun watches in my collection and dress watches in my collection, so maybe I won't buy it, but I'm definitely tempted. I've also been talking a lot about Montblanc watches lately because I think they are maybe some of the best looking and best priced watches, and they are on ashford.com too. This one here is $1,540, so it's a lot more than the ones I've just been speaking about. But when you look at the full RRP of this one, that list price there of $3,785, that's actually about what's on the Montblanc website. So it is actually a significant discount. Montblanc in general, you don't want to be buying at the full RRP because on grey market dealers like Ashford, you can always get it at a much better price. I think this is a gorgeous watch. I really enjoy it. It is, however, a rather big watch at 44mm, and that is something to be aware of Montblanc watches in general. They are quite large watches, but being a more pilot style, you probably get away with it. Obviously, it's automatic, it's Swiss made, and it's also featuring what I know to be is a sort of modified or a sort of a Sellita movement. It just says automatic here. As you can see, the height of watch is 12.2mm, so it's fairly thin on wrist, and it's 44mm. So it's going to probably be around about 50, 51, 52mm lug to lug, which makes it a big watch, but it's such a beautiful watch. Swiss-made watch from a company which, although if you're sort of thinking Montblanc, that's just a luxury sort of items watch brand, you need to think again because Montblanc makes incredible watches. And at the complete other pricing extreme, this one is only $37 because it's a Timex, and it's a really cool looking Timex. Look at the shape of the hands, sub-dial, which I like, and it's got that Indiglo feature. And it's also got a really nice case profile. I've had a few Timexes now, and they actually do really nice cases. It's a quartz watch, it's 41mm, 30mm of water resistance. It's got the Indiglo feature, which is very cool. So nothing too sort of outstanding or sort of particularly that's going to stick out to you here. Quartz watch, white dial, Timex. It's a Fairfield and it's 41mm. Case depth of 11.5 with mineral crystal. I just think it's a cool looking watch. And at that price, you know, wow, that's very, very cool. And if you happen to end up buying a watch from Ashford and you're already paying postage, especially if you're not within the United States, Or maybe a watch like this might be worthwhile adding as well, because the shipping cost doesn't then change too much. The last one, I'm going back to Hamilton for this Car Key Aviation chronograph, which I think is an incredible looking watch. This one on Ashford is available on the bracelet as well as on the leather strap. Oh, I like it, and I just love Hamilton. I think they have beautiful cases, beautiful designs, and this one, $325 US, and it's $325 US partly because it is a quartz watch. If this was a mechanical, it'd be worth a lot more than that. 41mm case diameter, 100 meters of water resistance. The movement is quartz, but it'll be a Swiss quartz because it is a Swiss-made watch. The Car Key Aviation, with one of their sort of model numbers, which they like to sort of talk about. It has a deployant clasp. Well, what it actually has is a metal bracelet, but it does have a sapphire crystal and a depth of 12.47. That's very specific, isn't it? I think that's a beautiful watch. I'm tempted, even though I tend to avoid quartz a little bit, that watch looks so nice that I am tempted to add that one to my collection. And I think there are so many other watches that are also on ashford.com that are worth considering, because they're great looking watches, they're great brand watches, and they're relatively affordable. But please keep in mind, unfortunately, they don't have every watch. And please bear in mind that postage costs and the warranties. If there's any others on Ashford that you've seen or that you've purchased that you would recommend, please let me know, because I'm always looking for watches. But whilst you do that, whilst you think about the watches that you're considering, maybe check this video out next.